Hey, I'm Jordan. Jordan Plays Blue, and I'm here to do another monthly roundup. This one is for August 2023. Now, last month, I just posted that a couple weeks ago. I was super late with that one. But last month, I only talked about 3 games. I had 4 games in front of me, and somehow I only talked about 3 of the 4. That was probably because I filmed that video, I think, 4 times before I got all of my microphones working for whatever reason. So tonight, I'm going to give you 5 games to talk about. So let's do this and go. So the game that I forgot to talk about last month was Hooky. Hooky is from Rio Grande Games. This is not a review copy. I paid for this one with my own money because I do that sometimes. And this is what is this? This is a straight deduction game. And this one is sort of a word deduction game, but it feels more deduction game than word game, if that makes sense. I talked about Fiction earlier this year, which is a word deduction game, and that one kind of balances those two things pretty evenly. This one feels more on the deduction side of things. You are a teacher trying to figure out which kids are missing from your class. Try that again. You're trying to figure out which kids are missing from your class. And you do that by guessing words. Every kid in your class has a different first letter of their name, and so all the letters are available. And you are just guessing words, and the other players are going to have hands of cards with different kids in them, and they're going to tell you, if I say the word Hooky, for instance, they have to tell me how many letters they have in their hand that match the H, the O, the K, and the Y from Hooky, right? And then you're trying to, over the course of the turns, deduce which kids are in the other people's hands and which kids are hidden on the table, almost Clue style, where like 3 kids are hidden at the beginning of the game. This game is fantastic. It looks like a kid's game. It is not a kid's game. This is, the box says 14 and up. I don't know why they went with this type of art style, but I really wish, I don't know. I think this one's going to get overlooked because it has such an odd look to the whole game. But it's absolutely fantastic. The way the deduction works is so crunchy. You have to be so methodical trying to figure this all out. Take a ton of notes on your sheet. It works super well. I really like this one. Also, the designer, the story behind this game, the designer, I believe, passed away. And before the game was published, and then all the proceeds of this game go towards a nonprofit called Friends of Asima, which funds schools in poor parts of India. I work in nonprofits professionally, and I think this is such a cool way for Rio Grande Games to kind of support other places around the world and kind of support nonprofits and the work that they're doing. So good job, Rio Grande. I think this is a great one. So Hooky, and it's also a good game. Great game, even. I think this one will probably be pretty high on my best of the year list. Yeah, really great. All right, another game. This is more of a first impression, I suppose, because I have only played this one once. It's been on my shelf of shame for a while now. I bought it with some store credit at a game store. And this is First Rat. This one had some great buzz. I believe it came out last year. Maybe the year before, but I think it was last year it came to the United States. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it came out before then, but it came to the States last year. And this is it is a path game where you have this long path that kind of weaves up this giant game board, and you're taking these rats and you're moving them up the path. You can never go backwards. The Dice Tower calls that a ratchet mechanism. I don't know if anybody calls it that but we'll go with that. And you have all these rats, and you're moving them along, and you're collecting these resources. You're turning the resources in to collect junk at the junkyard. You're collecting the resources, which are junk, and then you're turning that junk in to make other junk to make a rocket ship. You are rats trying to get to the cheese moon, and you are creating these rocket ships out of like tin cans and soda pop bottles and vinegar and things like that. So super cute theme. The artwork is really great. The board is super busy, and if you just like set it up, the game looks almost unplayable based off of what the board looks like. But after like going through the rules and like after being taught it, you're like, okay, I can see what is meant to be seen on the board. I do wish maybe some of the background was a bit more muted, or some highlight, like I wish maybe the path was highlighted more, something, so it stood out a little bit. But I do think this is a really wonderful game with just that mechanism of being able to move, up the path but not backwards, and so you're constantly trying to jockey there. You can take a rat. There's like a special action you can take where it like bumps them all the way back to the start, but you want your rats to get to the top because you get points like for them to reach the end. So it's not something you're doing all the time, but it is an option. So I think First Rat is really great. I think maybe this whole video is going to be about like unsung kind of games, but this one is also one that I think I've never heard a bad thing said about this game, but I think it's often being overlooked because of the theme and the look of the game. It's just kind of odd, and I think it is mechanically super sound and feels really cool. Kind of light. I haven't played this one with May yet, but I think she would be able to be into it. It's some light resource management, that kind of jockeying for position on the path comes together super well. That is First Rat. Next one, this selection of games, we're talking about 2 tonight, 2 during this video, and I'll probably talk about maybe 2 next time. I don't want to talk about all of them. And All Play, they release their games in batches, and if you guys know, I really enjoy All Play. I did pay for these. I backed the Kickstarter, got the upgraded components, that kind of stuff, and yeah, so talk about 2 of them here. This one is Chomp. Chomp is a one in their like 1 minute to teach line. I think this is, I've played almost every game in that line. I think I have. And this one might be the heaviest in that line, which doesn't mean much, but it is maybe 2 minutes to teach. I wouldn't say a whole 1 minute. And this feels like the child of Point Salad and Sprawlopolis, if that makes sense. So you're going to take Point Salad. You have these cards that are double-sided. One side is going to be used in the game, and the other side is used to score in the game. And so as you're drafting these cards on the table, it looks almost like Point Salad on the table, where you have 3 scoring cards, and then the other side is 3 the other cards. And then you're drafting the tiles, and they're used just like Sprawlopolis. They have their grid kind of card, and you can place them over top of other ones, next to other ones, and you're trying to position them in a way that makes sense in accordance to the scoring cards that you've already collected as well. And so that's the whole game. It has a cool dinosaur theme, obviously, and there's different things where you need, the herbivores need to be next to leaves, and the carnivores need to be next to meat, and nothing wants to be next to tar pits because that kills them. But maybe you do want to kill them because maybe your scoring objectives gives you that. It is such a light game. It says 20 minutes. I've never had a game go that long. Honestly, this is almost a 10-minute game at most. Like this, there is not much going on here, and it works super well. The solo game, I think I've looked on Board Game Geek, there's some weird issues with the solo game where the score chart in the rulebook doesn't seem to make sense. Everybody scores above the highest amount, so maybe that's going to be ironed out soon. But that's really the biggest issue I have with the game. I think this one is really wonderful, and this one is like the definition of a filler style game. I think Chomp is one, and it's so portable. It is so easy to teach, so light, and it has some cool tiling stuff going on. So check out Chomp in their little tiny box line from All Play. The other one I wanted to talk about from this line is Mindspace. Mindspace is this is probably the one of the 4 games. So it was Chomp, Mindspace, Couture, and what was the other one? Sail. Sail was definitely the one I was most excited about. I had actually played Chomp before in a demo version on Dice Tower Cruise with the guys from All Play, and then Couture just had a cool look to it, so I was really into that. Mindspace, I knew nothing about. It was a roll and write game. I like roll and write games. This one, the theme is really interesting. My wife has a degree in psychology. I have degrees similar to that. And it's about the mind, and each of the different scoring things has to do with the mind. So like one is about like your interests and hobbies, and one of them is about love and relationships, and one thing's about this. And the theme doesn't have to be there. It could just be colors and numbers and shapes, and it would work, but it kind of does work, which is weird. Now, Mindspace as a game, this one is very surprising to me for a couple reasons. One, if you look at it mechanically, so we have, it's a roll and write game. You roll some dice, you do what the numbers say, right? We've played those games. We have polyominoes. You're going to have these cards out, you put the dice next to them, and the dice are going to correspond with the polyominoes. You're going to draw the polyominoes on a dry erase board. I've done that before, so many times. You're also trying to get certain polyominoes next to certain polyominoes, and you're also trying to fill in different sections of the board. I've done that a million times before. And it just feels like everything about this game I've already played in other games. And so it feels like the word derivative would be really apt for Mindspace, right? Like it feels like they took a whole bunch of other things from games, put them together, and it kind of feels like, oh, I've seen this before. I don't know how to verbalize this, but the way that these mechanics come together is so good. I think this game is really, really good. Of roll and write games, I think this one is in the upper echelon of them. I think the way that it all just comes together, you're getting the different colors next to each other, you're trying to match different shapes with each other, you're trying to fill in different sections, all the while, trying to not score negative points for different things, trying to balance the scoring objective cards that are out there. It is so, I think I said this about another game. This is so mechanically sound. It just kind of sings, the way that it all comes together is so smooth and just works so well. Even though I feel like I've seen everything in this box before, the melting pot of everything comes together wonderfully. It's like, I have like a grilled cheese sandwich and like a hamburger, and then I kind of put those together, and it's like one of those like grilled cheese sandwich burgers. I've had one before, and they're really good. That's kind of what this is. It's a bunch of stuff that I really like, and you put them all together. Chocolate peanut butter. Let's go with that one. I'm allergic to peanut butter, so. But I'm not allergic to anything in Mindspace, so. And then the last game, this one I did get as a review copy, so everything I say from here on out, you can believe it or not, I didn't pay money for it, but the publisher didn't pay me either, so I don't know. Beacon Patrol. This one is from Pandasaurus. This is a very, very light tile laying game, a la like Carcassonne tile laying game, where you have these square tiles and you're putting them out and you're connecting oceans and you're connecting land. Land versus Sea was one of my favorites from a bit ago. And this one is more Carcassonne-like because you have the square tiles. You're trying to get you are on a boat trying to inspect the lighthouses and beacons and buoys that are all up and down the coastline. And so it has all of the trappings of a really basic tile laying game. But what makes this one interesting is that you have this little tugboat, and it is moving up and down, and you have movement points that you can use each turn. You can move. Wherever you play the tile, then you move on to that tile, and you're slowly kind of discovering where the shoreline is as you're inspecting it. This, I've played this both solo and multiplayer. I think it works better multiplayer because there is an action that allows you to trade tiles with somebody, and it can lock up a little bit if you don't have the right tiles to match where you are on the board, because sometimes the movement is really tight. And so being able to spread out in the different corners of the board that you're discovering works really well with multiple players, and you can trade those tiles once per turn between other players. And I think it just works better in a multiplayer game. It does have some tweaks to the solo game to kind of give you that experience, but I don't think it fully captures that. So I do think this one is better in multiplayer. I think solo kind of was left me feeling wanting more, unfortunately. But I think this one's really solid. May enjoyed it with me, and other people I've played it with. It's been really good. So it is cooperative. I don't know if I mentioned that. This is a cooperative game. So you're working together. You spread out, and you're trying to discover these tiles, and you're trying to score the different buoys, lighthouses, and tiles that have all 4 cardinal directions covered. That means that you've explored it, and then those are the tiles that are going to score at the end of the game. So works really smoothly, and if you like these tile laying games, this one is very quick and easy to get into. So that is Beacon Patrol from Pandasaurus. All right, I think that's all. I think next month I'll talk about the other all-play games, because you know I am a fanboy of them, but maybe I didn't like those other 2. You never know, right? So we'll see there. But until I see you guys next month, maybe I'll do another video, but otherwise just catch up with me on Instagram. I'm there every day. All right, well, I am Jordan with Jordan Plays Blue. Thanks.